Drunken Hat.
Hello everybody and welcome to a Decklist video. This one's going to be pretty simple because it's a Goblin Decklist video, and really all you have to know about Goblins is that you play Goblins and then you play Goblins and then you play more Goblins. Occasionally you throw in maybe like a little bit of something else that's not a Goblin, but mostly you're just playing Goblins. We'll start off with the commander, Krenko Mob Boss, the premier, the classic, the ultimate, the esteemed Krenko. He's a 3/3 for 4, and you tap him, make X 1/1 goblins, where X is the number of goblins you control. He will always make at least one goblin because he himself is a goblin. There's actually some funny tech that you can do. I forget what other card it is, but basically you can end up replacing the goblins with vampires, and it just turns him into this really weird, like goblin vampire thing. But yeah, it's cool. He himself can get out of control very quickly. Just because if you have any kind of haste enabler, he drops, immediately gets value. And usually that haste enabler is also a goblin, so that's one more goblin. It's just common sense, man. It's just common sense. Yeah. So, fun fact about him, actually. And Goblin Lord. The Goblin Lord that I referenced in the video, who's a good friend of mine. Thanks for the rum, pal. Cheers to you. He has beaten me with one land. He did this by playing... This was a multiplayer commander game, by the way, so it wasn't just me. He beat 3 other people with one land. So, what you do is, you play a mountain, and then you play a Jeweled Lotus, which has 3 mana of any one color. It's 0 cost, artifact, you sack it, create 3 mana of any one color. You can only use that mana to play a commander. And then, you make 2 goblins. Or you wait a turn. And on your next turn, you play a Skirk Prospector, who is a goblin that can sacrifice goblins to make red mana. And then, on that turn, you tap Krenko after you've played the Skirk Prospector. Look at that! You got 2 goblins! And that's actually 2 red mana. But yeah. Nobody had a kill spell. He got really out of hand. It was amazing. I just seeing a one land hand win. Like 1 land. It's amazing. But anyway, let's get into some of the neat goblins. First of all, 2 very, very, very neat combos with Krenko specifically. So he makes goblins, right? Where is he? Ah. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. So imagine if those massive amount of goblins you were creating were actually 3/1 goblins and have haste. This wins games, like point blank. You just look at all my demon babies. Yeah. Storm's Wrath, Shatterstorm, because we don't have access to overload cards. Wizards, come on. I need my Cyclonic Rift. I need my Vandal Blast. Come on. Please. I know you can do it. Yeah, then every other card is just devoted to creating goblins and or wiping the board. This used to be very meta. Like, there was a mono red deck where you just ran like Goblin Chain Whirler plus like a bunch of other really aggressive stuff, and you just kind of exploded your opponent's face. Another Krenko, because you can never have enough Krenko. He got fat over the years, apparently. Muxus is the highest mana cost at 6 because he's a bomb, and he potentially puts up to 6 goblins in play. Let's see. This, having only 40 mountains, is not a mistake, surprisingly enough. Because I wasn't going to run the snow package because I wouldn't really get much out of it, because a lot of the snow stuff, like really all I would be getting is a frostbite. The other snow spells really don't mesh with the goblins because either they're too slow or they try to replace the mana that you have with colorless mana, and that just doesn't work. But yeah. This is another very cheeky way to win, because you make a bunch of goblins, and if you're against a life gain deck, that can be really, really, really hard to, like, if they've gotten their early life gain going, this can just win you the game, because you basically build up your goblin army, and they're like, whatever, you can't kill me. You drop this, swing with your goblins, you get at least 10 of them in, really easier than it sounds, and boom, you just win. Herald's Horn, Heraldic Banner. Well, Heraldic Banner boosts the power, but Herald's Horn and Vanquisher's Banner I'm considering taking out, because this does draw you cards whenever you play a Goblin. That's cool. And this reduces the mana cost. Neither have been relevant to me any time that I've played them. Yes, this also does buff, but at 5 mana, you'd rather just have another Goblin in hand. You really would. Heraldic Banner works, but Herald's Horn is, I think, what I was thinking of. While this does draw you goblins, at 3 mana, it's a bit more reasonable, but again, you'd probably just rather have a goblin. But, I'm kind of... This one's really, like, a cut card, because it's 5 mana, but this is, like, keep an eye on, maybe see if it actually does give you the value that you need, because red decks typically have a problem with, like, just burning out their hand. Which is actually a really cool flavor win, but it can be really annoying, and you can actually lose the game if you just don't have things to play. We're running Squee, because every Goblin deck needs a Squee. Most decks need a Squee. He is just, he literally is immortal. Your opponent cannot get rid of him. Like, it's just, they can't. There's no possible way. Really fun with Food Chain, because Food Chain exiles, you make mana equal to the mana cost +1, and so you just make 4 red, play him for 3, make 4 more red, play him for 3, make 4 more red, play him for 3. Again, goblins, make goblins. He pumps your goblins, and then, like, obviously he triggers off of goblins entering. So, and it's any target. Again, that's direct damage that you can just, you know... you never really want, even though goblins are combat-based, they are combat. You always want a backup when playing goblins, because if they manage to stick anything that stops you, we're talking a propaganda, not necessarily an arena, like a propaganda, a ghostly prison. I think in a Baird in... Arena has Baird, and they have the Archon of whatever that you also have to pay 1 for each attacking creature. It can really gum up the works. But yeah. Goblin War Chief, Goblin Spell, gives him haste. Chieftain, haste. This is kind of just in there because it's a goblin. Also, it's the monkey goblins. This is a game-ending one, not only because he has 2 power and can be unblockable pretty easily with, like, the Goblin Path, what is it, Goblin, not Trailblazer, Goblin Tunneler, and other things like that, but it just sticks them with a bunch of tokens that they can't really use. They are creatures, so you have to be wary of, like, Craterhoof Behemoth suddenly coming down, because they can attack. But yeah, if you get like 2 or 3 if you get 2 or 3 hits in with him, the constructs are going to kill your opponent very easily. Raid Bombardment, it's a must, along with Cavalcade of Calamity, another must. Just, you have 1/1 goblins attacking, why not do damage automatically? Patchling Mons, he's the nose goblin. He makes more goblins a lot slower than Krenko. However, he does punish your opponent for killing your goblins. That's just for reach, because sometimes you just need to have a goblin to block a flyer. Legion Warboss makes goblins. Again, just goblin engines. Night Runner is pseudo card draw. Smuggler is another, like, unblockable outlet. Ruin Blaster can deal with that pesky infinite you can't stop me combo. Goblin Matron. Search. Incinerator's another kind of meh, because while his cycling does draw you a card, and then you get to basically, like, usually bolt something, it's usually about 3 to 5 damage. Unless you just have a bunch of goblins, in which case you can just end a creature. Ferocity. More power on your things attacking. Menace, always relevant. Conspicuous Suit. You really need this one in any kind of goblin deck if you're because you just need to play goblins off the top. That's what you need to do. It's a counterspell. And because I don't have access to Red Elemental Blast or the equivalents, I'm going to run Tybalt's Trickery. More goblins. More goblins. Yeah. It technically has goblin in the name. More goblins. Potential board wipe. Usually this wipes your goblins. Any kind of, like, this sort of thing. But, hey. Sometimes it's just what you need to do. Weaselback is a goblin, and it's an amazing goblin, because sometimes you can just get away with an absurd amount of damage. And, fun fact, because he's a 1/1 before pumping, you can just go over to Goblin Tunneler, tap him, make him unblockable, then swing, and then pump. So you can be like, here's suddenly a ton of damage that's just unblockable. Have fun. This is a really weird goblin, just pooping a goblin whenever he's blocked. He works sometimes. Javelineer deals with tiny blockers, you know, makes it so that he doesn't just trade. Arsonist, just a little ping of damage. Sometimes it's relevant. But yeah. Other than that, we've got your standard Siege Gang Commander. Chuck your goblins to explode people's faces. We've got Battle Squadron, which is just a goblin that flies, that can just be as strong as all your goblins, so it can be relevant, especially the flying. Brash Taunter is there. Brash Taunter is there to be the anti-green deck card, because say they have a Tarask or something. Well, not a Tarask because that's got Ward. Say they've got just this massive creature. The elemental that makes everything a land and its power and toughness equal to a land. If Brash Taunter is on the field, they can't really play that because they play it. Brash Taunter goes, oh cool, I'm gonna fight that. They blast each other in the face. He takes like 13, your opponent then takes 13. It's a good thing. Again, you need the board wipe. This dealing damage to Planeswalker is relevant, as well as this. You have an easier time killing Planeswalkers than a lot of decks just because your goblins are very aggressive. However, you always need a backup. Let's see. Again, spot removal. Cosmic Trilink Wave, game ender. Because you're like, 4 mana, my Goblin Horde can't be blocked. Do you die? Yeah? Okay, cool. Next game. Assault Ravager is in there. Again, because he functions off of creature type rather than just giants, he can potentially deal a ton of damage to your opponent's face. But yeah, very simple. Goblins are just really simple and easy to play. They either fire off or they don't. That's just how the deck works. That's just how goblins work. Either they fire off, they do their thing, they get massive and explode into your opponent's face, or your opponent has the right kill spells, or they have board wipes, and you just sputter out and lose. That's what kind of makes it a fun deck, because you're like, I don't really feel like thinking. I'm just gonna play my stuff. If you can deal with it, cool. If you can't, I'll win. Easy. But thank you all for watching. If you would like to give this deck a try, the deck list is in the comments below. Not comments, the description. The description below. But yes, thank you. And if you really liked it or would like to see this deck in action, go ahead and saunter on over to my channel. Consider subscribing. I upload Magic the Gathering content daily. I love your faces. Cheers. Bye-bye. Drunken